Hi, this is Creekinator, and welcome to my video on how to map your farm together farm. Ever since I started to play this game, I wanted a way to be able to plan my farm instead of walking across the screen, counting tiles, putting placeholders down, and using graph paper, and all of that didn't work for me. So I was going through the forums and looking at different things, and I came across this guide from No Steppy that talked about how to customize your farm terrain chunks. She showed how to go into the code and be able to put in different names of chunks for different chunks so you could customize your farm how you wanted it to be. So it gave me an idea of maybe I could really use this information to be able to map my farm. So Google and I became best friends, and I went through my Google Drive and played with my Google Sheets, and finally I figured it out, and I wanted to share it with everybody. Now, before we get started, this is a technical process, and you have to have computer skills in order to do this process. Be able to follow the directions. I have written directions and also this video directions to be able to show you how to do it. And then have the common knowledge of being able to cut and paste and get text from one program to another program, and how to use Google Drive files, such as their documents and their spreadsheets. This process is not going to show you how to clone a farm or how to change chunk names. It's only going to show you how to map out your farm. So at the end, this is something that you're going to end up with. You're going to have a Google Sheet that's going to show each chunk of your farm, where the ramps are, bridges are, where the water is, hilltops, and things like that. So sort of an example of what you can do once you have all this mapped out, and I have all my mapped out for what I want to do here, is you can go through and say, okay, well, let's see, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Up here I'm going to put in my horse farms, and if I really wanted to get particular about it, I could map out certain places to be places for certain horses and donkeys as I go along, depending on what I want to do. And then I wanted to remind myself that over here, I thought this would be a nice plot to be able to put my buildings, and put my house over here, and put more buildings here. And then maybe over here, let's think about maybe having an orchard here. And let's see, there's a ramp there. Let's don't block the ramp. And put a nice big orchard right here. And if you know your Google Sheets and you're willing to go through and learn them, you can go through and do almost anything you want to with the coloring and with the borders and all. So that's what you can do. You can take your time, go through and look at what you want to do, a nice overhead view of what you want to do on your farm. Now, time-wise, depending on your computer skills, plan to think about an hour or more into this process. Sounds like a lot of time, but once you have the mapping done for that farm, you're done and you never need to do it again. You will need to download a free program called 7-Zip if you don't already have it on your computer. Now, other archive programs might work, but I'm most familiar with this one, so I've based these directions around that program. Need to have a Google Drive account to hold your files. I'm not sure if this process will work without having your own Google Drive account. If you don't have one, you can go ahead and follow the directions and see if it works for you. And all the files I'm going to give you are Google Drive files, no Microsoft Excel files or anything like that. This shows you the different files that I will be sharing with you in the link that is in the description below this video. The farm template, that's the one I showed you where you could go through and place the different chunks into your map. And then the farm together chunk maps file has all the different maps that are available in farm together. And then the very last one are the directions. And this will, if you prefer to have written directions, this will have the written directions on how to do this process. Now, each farm is divided up into 25 chunks or sections. And I call them chunks because that is how they are labeled in the program coding. So you have 5 chunks going across the page and 5 chunks going down the page, giving you a total of 25 chunks. Now, this map I'm showing you here doesn't have the last column of sections or chunks because I didn't have them opened up when I was doing this tutorial. So this slide is showing you how they number the chunks that are inside your map. So the bottom left of the map is your 0,0 chunk. At the top right hand side of your map is the chunk 4,4. So when you go through and we get the names for your chunks, this will be able to help you know where to place the names for your chunks on your map. And this is just an example of what a chunk looks like for the big hill chunk. So it has that big hill in the middle of it, and you can see that I've color coded things so you'll be able to quickly identify what's a rock, what's a slope, what's the hilltop inside them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So in the description below this video, there's going to be this Google Drive link. Go ahead and click on that, and that's going to open up a Google Drive folder that will be shared with you. If you want to, you can go ahead and open up the Farm Together Chunks name instruction file in order to be able to follow along as you want. If you don't already have 7-zip installed on your computer, you can go ahead and find it almost anywhere on the internet, but I like going to ninite.com and be able to download things there because I know that it's going to have the most recent updates and I'm not going to have to worry about the file. Once you get to ninite.com, you're going to see a bunch of columns with a bunch of names in them of different programs. If you just want to download 7-zip, go to the compressed section and click on the check mark next to 7-zip. Then click on the Get Your Nanite button at the bottom of the page and it will download the file for you. Depending on the browser that you have, you're going to have to find the downloaded exe file and install the program. If you don't already have the directions page opened up, go ahead and open it up, and then you're going to select and highlight the line that has where your game data files are. Then open up your Windows Explorer, copy and paste that line that you just did into the folder name box. Click on the farm name data file you want to copy. Copy it. Go to a different folder and paste that file into there. And now we're going to start the process to be able to find out what chunks you have in your map. The first step is to open up the farm archive. Right-click on the file you just copied. And in the context menu, select 7-zip, open archive, and then go to the 7-zip archive that just opened, right-click on the file name, and go to Edit. And now you're going to have to wait. I didn't cut this time because I wanted you to let you know that this could take a while. And now it's going to open up, and here's your file. Go into the notepad file that you just opened, and now you're going to be doing some finds for that phrase with chunk ID. Every time you find that, you're going to highlight all the way to the comma after chunk position and the 00 or the 01 or the 02 or the 03. Copy that into a new notepad file and then continue to do this until you reach the last chunk of 4,4. So copy that last one into the notepad file, and then you want to go through your file and make sure that you have 01, 00, 01, 02, 03, 04, and make sure that you have 25 lines in the correct sequence and number. Open up the instructions or the directions that are provided in the link. Copy the table that you find under Copy the following table to a new Google Doc or spreadsheet. Open up a new document or spreadsheet, either one will work, and paste it in there. Now, just for convenience reasons, I went ahead and copied the file name or the chunk names down into the Google Docs, just to make it a little bit easier to be able to follow into. And then you're going to start copying the chunk names into the different positions. The positions are given with the 0, 0, the 0, 1, and the 0, 2. Now you see here, I went the wrong way. In this process, I'm copying the name in between the quotation marks, right next to chunk ID, and I'm looking at the very end of the sentence, and I'm seeing that it goes into chunk 00, so that's where I paste it. And I continue doing that for the first column, which is all the zeros. And then I'm going to go to the next column, which has all the ones, so the 1, 0, the 1, 2, the 1, 3, and so forth. And do the same thing for column 2, column 3, and then into column 4. So at the very end of doing all this process, I've taken one of my farmed together map and shown it here, and you can see that the bottom left hand side of my map is the prairie chunk. The very top hand side of my map is the big river, and I can look at all the other chunks on my map and to see what type of chunk they are. The next step is to go look at the Farm Together Chunks map file that's in the shared folder that I gave you the link for. And the first page it opens up to is the table of contents or index for it. And you just have to wait until the tabs show down at the bottom so that you're able to go through and look at it. Once it opens up with the tabs at the bottom, go take a look at the document that you created with all of the chunk names in them, and then you can start to look at them inside here. You can click on the hyperlink. I'm going to change the zoom down to 75%. Click on the hyperlink, and it will take you to what that chunk looks like. If I change the default back to 100%, you can't see all of it. It depends on your screen resolution and things like that. Go back and I want to look at the 2 mountains, so I'll go look at that one. And I'm just highlighting it so that you can see which one I'm going to look at. Open up the 2 mountains ones, and this is what the 2 mountain chunks look like. This is what the triple hill, starting chunk A, split mountain, rocky chunks, and so forth. So this allows you to be able to look at the different chunk maps and see what they look like. At the top of each chunk map, there's a color code that shows you what the different colors mean on the map. So you have a place, if it's a light green, it's a flat, so it's just flat land. Hilltops, so it means that it's flat but it's up on a hill. Walkable means that there's a part of the cliff that you can walk along, or there's a part on one of the hills that you can't plant on in that area. Valleys, slopes, cliffs, ponds, streams, and then the light gray is the rocks. And then I also tried to put where the bridge and the ramps are. The bridge are sometimes estimates at where they are, but there's the best that I was able to guess at when I was looking at the maps. The next step is to make the big farm map that I showed you at the very beginning. That was that large Excel file or Google Sheets file that showed the entire map with all the chunks on it. Now, this might be the most confusing part of the process, but if you cut and you paste and you're very careful about where you cut and paste things, you should be okay with this. Let's get started on making the map then. Here's the table you created earlier and copying everything over. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the Farm Together chunk map so I can have all the different chunks I can copy out of. And I'm also going to open up Farm Template. One thing I'm going to do with Farm Template is I'm going to make a copy of it so that I can be able to do the editing of it and save it onto my Google Drive. Because if you try to edit the Farm Template, it's not going to let you do that. I'm going to close the Farm Template file so I don't try to edit it or do anything with it. And now here comes the copying part. I know in space 40, in chunk 40, it has ponds in it. I'm going to go back here, go open up ponds, and then I'm going to set the zoom to 50%, and then I'm going to highlight from the very bottom square to the very top corner, all within that red. Don't copy the keys or anything else. Then I'm going to go into the map page in the Farm Template for 40 or 04, and I'm going to copy it into that place. I'm going to go in and paste it into that place. I'm going to set the zoom in a little bit lower so I can be able to see it. Now I'm going to go to the next place for the 03 spot. Go back to the document I created earlier. That's the two mountains. Going to go into the chunks, go back to the table of contents, going to go to the two mountains page, going to copy that, go back to the Farm Templates, to the correct cell it's supposed to go into, and then I'm going to paste it. Then it's going to continue, and I cut a lot of this out because it took a long time to do this, but I never have to do this again. This is done. And right here I'm just scrolling through the maps to show you the different chunks that are in there and everything that I had done with it at the very end. Now it's your chance to go plan your farms. Go do the mapping, plan what you want and where you want it to go. I found this so useful when I wanted to go through and do my farm and be able to plan where I wanted things to go, see the past, see everything I wanted to be able to do. Now if you see any mistakes, please put them into the comment section so I can go back through and fix them. As I was going through and doing the video, I did see some of the chunk maps that weren't color coded right, so I went back and fixed them. As with any big project that something works on, I spend a lot of time and effort into making these files and these spreadsheets. Feel free to share the link with your friends and the other people that play Farm Together. All I ask is please do not remove any of the Creative Commons copyright notices from the files or do not claim it as your own work. Thank you.